They didn't call you bossy because you were wrong. They called you bossy because you were uncontrollable. Before now, there was a version of you that had zero tolerance for nonsense. When you said no, your no meant no. Your boundaries were non negotiable. You don't dare lower your standards for any reason. You walked away when people disrespected you. And when anything makes you uncomfortable, you speak up about it. When anybody makes you uncomfortable, you speak up about it. When people cross the lines, you address it immediately. And because of this, people label you stubborn, too much, too difficult, rebellious, aggressive. In relationships, you were called the man, and in friendships, you were tagged bossy. But you were never really bossy. You were just being firm about what you want and what you wouldn't tolerate. And somehow something shifted, and you began to question yourself. You began to ask yourself if you were the problem, if you needed to make your voice softer, if you needed to become more friendly, if you needed to lower your standard to become acceptable and to become more likable. And bit by bit, you began to keep quiet to keep the peace. When people disrespected you, you let it slide because they called it maturity. When people crossed your boundary, you no longer reaffirmed the boundaries because you didn't want anybody to call you too much. Because you were scared that if you react, people would say that you're stubborn or too difficult to deal with. You started allowing discomfort at the expense of your own peace. Even when you know that you are standing your ground, even when you know that what people are doing to you is not right, you are too scared to speak up for yourself simply because you don't want to be tagged stubborn. And that was how you began to shrink yourself. Not because you changed, but because you were conditioned to. Because every time you speak up, especially if it's an elderly person that is involved, and you speak up for yourself, it is called rebellion or disobedience. Every time you enforced your boundaries, somebody shamed you out of it. Every time you stood up and speak up for yourself, you were called rebellious. Every time you said no to something that does not benefit you, you were called disobedient. Every time you demanded for clarity, you were called bossy. Every time you demanded for transparency, you were called difficult. Every time you refused to bend to rules, conditions, and terms that does not align with your values, you were called too difficult. Your confidence was misinterpreted as arrogance. Your self-respect was misinterpreted as disrespect. Your assertiveness was misinterpreted as aggression. But here is one truth that nobody actually gets to tell you. You were never too difficult. You were never too much. You were never too hard to love. You were just too difficult to control. And when people cannot control you, they label you. When they cannot bend you, they try to shame you. Not because anything is wrong with you, but because that version of you they are trying to tame makes them uncomfortable. But because that version of you that they're trying to tame mirrors something for them that they do not actually like. People will always want you to behave in a way that makes them comfortable, even if it means negotiating your boundaries, disrespecting yourself, or keeping quiet when they hurt you. And anytime that you try to be firm about what you want and what you cannot tolerate, they begin to tag you difficult, they begin to tag you disrespectful, they begin to tag all manner of things to you just to shame you into becoming a washed down version that will always make them comfortable. But hear this, speaking up for yourself does not make you rebellious. Your confidence does not mean arrogance. Your self respect does not mean disrespect. It does not mean that you're doing too much. You asking for clarity, asking for what you want, going for what you want does not make you too much or too difficult. You asking for clarity before you adhere to a particular instruction does not make you disobedient. You speaking up for yourself whenever something is not done right or whenever you feel that something is not going the way it should go does not make you rebellious. Even if it entails you standing up to an elderly person, it does not make you rebellious. It makes you confident. It makes you smart. It makes you grounded. So stop lowering your standards to be likable. Stop making your boundaries negotiable because you want people to like you, because you don't want to provoke anybody, because you want people to feel comfortable around you. Your boundaries does not make you rude. It does not make you disobedient. It does not make you a bad person. It makes you someone who is intentional about her peace. And the version of you that I have always tried to tame was never the problem. It was your urgency. So you need to return back to that authentic version of you that you abandoned, that you've been betraying for years just to please others, that you've abandoned for years just to make people around you comfortable. Because it's never too late to go back to that version of yourself. Stop negotiating. with yourself to make others comfortable. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to share with the sister out there who might just need it. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video.